watching the Forefront Church video podcast. And wherever you're at viewing online, we just want to say thank you and welcome. And one of the ways that we can help connect with you is we want to hear from you and where you're at and how we can help. And so head over to forefrontchurch.info after the message and click the Connect tab. It's a great way for us to help you along your spiritual journey as you connect with God and learn about Jesus. And so sit back, relax. We hope that you're challenged and encouraged from today's message. You see, I told her not to climb that high, but kids rarely listen to wisdom. So don't you go up there, baby. I know you're going to get stuck. You've never gone up that high before. I know what I'm doing, Daddy. No, you don't. You don't know because your brain's still forming. It keeps forming until you're in your 20s. You don't know what you're doing, but I can see, and I know. Man, I know a lot, but I know you're about to get stuck. And she kept climbing. We're at the park, and she climbed up the blue side there, and it opens up in the middle to just one bar kind of dropping down on each side there, but I knew for a fact she was going to get stuck. Hey, baby, you need to quit climbing up there. You're going to get stuck. How are you doing? And as a parent, you already have to go through the process of understanding, am I going to be the parent that helicopters over them, or am I going to be the parent that knows where the closest ER is? I chose the latter. Luckily, there was no ER trip that day. So, baby, you're gonna get stuck, but so I wanted to watch because I wanted to be able to problem solve because I'm a dad and that's what dads do. But I want to see where your brain goes when you get stuck. And where do you go? So I'm sitting on the bench, not too far away, close enough that I can help her when she hits the ground, but not close enough to be able to catch her. Life choices. So I'm watching this transpire. And finally, she gets to the top, and sure enough, because I've seen how this plays out, Daddy, I'm stuck! Mumbled under my breath, told you that earlier. But you didn't want to listen to me? Shucks. So I get up, and I walk over. I realize very quickly that I cannot climb up and bring her down with me. I'm not that agile. No, contrary to popular belief, I'm not able, with that kind of upper body strength, to be able to do this. Not unless it was life and death, adrenaline and everything else. It's not life and death. She's stuck at the top of the playground. Hey, I need you to jump to me. No. Not gonna do that. No, babe, I need you to just jump to me. I can't climb up there. I mean, I could, but I can't bring you down. I would just climb up there and drop you, which would be what's going to happen if I walk away. So if you could just jump into my arms. And now, if you've ever been at a playground as a parent, and this scene begins to unfold, other parents do not come to your support and aid. They turn around and they watch to see what happens. So this is what happened. A couple of parents that are there, a couple of parents are on the other side of the playground. They start looking over. They see me, who's shouting, my little child, who doesn't want to come down. And all of them, not in solidarity, bro, we've been there. It's a bunch of moms and dads going, let's see how this plays out. So now my parenting prowess is on the line. Baby, I need you to jump down into my arms. And she says the words that turns the crowd. But you won't catch me. Which, if you're a parent, you begin to process, when have I ever let you? We have never been at the playground. I'm thinking through it very quickly, the scenario. We've never been at the playground where I said jump and went, boom. Let's see how that works out. Never. Never done that with your sister. Not going to do that with you. Need you to climb down. And now I'm feeling immediate judgment from every single parent. Did he drop his child? Does he know how to catch? Like at that moment, I'm thinking to myself, I wish they had a service like parentinapinch.com where you can just like get the dad that is everything you're not. And he comes down and goes, actually, I know how to talk to children. 7 feet tall, I'll just pick her off the thing, you puny man. Like that's what, like, they don't have that. That website address is available though. I did look that up. I want dibs. And so tell her, I need you to jump down to me. No, you're not going to catch me. I'm like, please stop saying that. Like those things you say to your child but everyone can hear. So I'm telling her, just come down. just come down. Like it's a reverse hostage negotiation. And I realized very quickly that it is not a matter of her doubting that I'm going to catch her. It has more to do with her fear. See, I'm questioning my parenting in that moment, and all jokes aside, I'm like, why doesn't she trust me? I'm her dad. Like, dads are supposed to be the heroes. Like, I'm supposed to be able to stand there, and no matter what happens, that she would just be like, and not even if I'm not looking, she's like, I'll just fling my body off this thing, and dad won't catch me because he's dead. Like, that's how kids should act. I'm like, is my kid broke? Like, what's going on? Like, you're supposed to trust me. And every bit of that had nothing to do with her doubt. She knew that I was there for her, but everything she was saying and believing was derived out of fear. She didn't have a bit of faith in what was taking place, and she was wrestling with that. I go, man, that's us. For many of us, we climb to the top of the jungle gym, and then we start getting thrown scenarios that we do not feel like we're ready for. And God goes, hey, why don't you just jump? I'll catch you. We're like, you will not catch me. Remember when this happened? Where were you? Remember when I was hurt before? Why did you let that happen? And that doubt is actually derived from fear. But what we've been told for years within the history of church culture, specifically in the United States, is you can't have doubt and faith in the same camp. You either have to have full of faith, or if you have doubt, oh, what is wrong with you? Don't you just trust the Lord? Or there was a hymn that we would sing in church culture when I grew up. There's no other way to be happy in Jesus but to trust and... Yeah, some of y'all, yeah, you feel the solidarity, you feel the pain. Like you sat through those moments. And I'm like, wait a second, there has to be room for both of these. And I think what we have to understand is that doubt isn't at odds with faith. Don't have someone tell you the moment that you begin to move through these pieces that you just need to be more faithful. Doubt isn't at odds with faith. It's the process of it. Even at the top of that jungle gym, she's beginning to think, is dad going to catch me? It is very scary looking down. I'm little, ground hurts, gravity, like all the things are being processed and she's scared. And it wasn't in that moment that I need to have an existential crisis about my fathering capability amongst a bunch of parents who I am never going to see again because we're not going to go back to that park. That I need to look at her and see that this isn't about doubt. She's just scared. And she still trusts me, and that's okay to have all of that in her mind and in her heart. You see, because we're a mess. We are the weirdest mess inside, every single one of us. And I don't care how confident you walked in this morning or how destitute you feel. And you look at other people and go, man, I wish I could be like them. Or you feel like you've got it together and you look at other people and go, at least I'm not like them. Every one of us is a bag of nerves and hurt and pains and hopes and dreams, and it's all thrown together. And I love the way Brendan Manning is a phenomenal writer, and the way that he put it was so good. He said, when I get honest, I admit I'm a bundle of paradoxes. I believe and I doubt. I hope, and then I also get discouraged. I love, and then I hate. Keeps going on. He says, I am trusting, and then I'm suspicious. How many of us have been there? I am honest, and I still play games. Aristotle said that we are rational animals. I say I'm an angel with an incredible capacity for beer. I think it's interesting summing that up that way. We're a mess. And the moment that someone tells you that they've just got life all figured out, oh, no doubt, I got everything locked in, I'm good to go. And I usually jokingly say this, but I say this very concretely. Run. None of us have it figured out. Not a single one of us. I've been pastoring for over 20 years, and I think I have more questions than I have answers. For some of you, this is your last Sunday here. You're like, I want somebody who has all the answers. I don't have them. I hate to break it to you, but I do have hope. And you see, I don't think that doubt is our problem. For some of us, we have these doubts. I doubt in the creation account. I doubt that God could make all these things in 7 literal days. And they're like, what do you believe? I was like, I don't know. He's God. Like God. He always is, always has been, always will be. Like God, I think 7 days is probably good. Like I know the city of Virginia Beach takes 14 years to build something, but I know that maybe, just maybe, God could get it done in 7 days and take a nap. What do you think about a big fish swallowing up a guy and him being in the belly of a big fish for a few days? I said, I don't know, but if God wanted to do it, I want to learn a lesson that whatever that guy did, I don't want to do that. Well, do you think that's literal or figurative? I don't know. Jesus talked about it pretty literally, and I trust him. But that doesn't make sense. Yeah, there's things that don't make sense. Well, that's why I have doubt. And I go, well, I actually don't think it's doubt. I think it's something much deeper. See, it's a symptom, for lack of a better term, it's a symptom of a problem. This is our big idea for today. That doubt isn't the core of what we're dealing with. Even though we're in a series on how do we handle our doubt, and we're going to walk through it over the next handful of weeks, it's fear. And fear isn't always sinful, but it is always an opportunity. I don't want anyone to shame you for having doubts and fears and thinking and asking questions. That is okay and it's welcome here. And if you feel like you have it all locked in, I want to challenge you that maybe you are just a little too arrogant. And maybe, just maybe, you are one of the people that needs to learn this the most. Because this topic's hard. And for so long, the church has shied away from questions, not Forefront Church, but the church at large, of questions and doubt and just wrestling with these and fear. I love the way that Rick Warren puts it when he talks about fear. He said, fear is a self-imposed prison that will keep you from being what God intends you to be. And the reason that I share that I think it's fear and not doubt, that doubt is the symptom, that fear is the issue to tackle, is because when I have conversations with people, take my oldest daughter, for instance. I said, baby, what do you doubt? I asked her the other day. What do you doubt? She's like, and she's very reflective. And she said, well, I doubt sometimes that my friends, and she's thought for a minute, said, I doubt sometimes that my friends accept me as me. I said, okay. I said, can I ask you another question? And we have really great conversations. And so I said, can I ask you another question? She said, okay. I said, could it be that it's not really doubting about your friends and who you are, but it's a fear of not being liked? She paused for a moment, and you kind of thought you could see the wheels kind of turn. She goes, yeah, I think you're right. I said, when people talk about their spouse and they go, well, I doubt that they can rise to the occasion and whatever it is. I doubt that they could lead our family. I doubt that they could perform this task. I doubt that they could do these things. I said, actually, do you have a fear that you maybe made a mistake? And they're like, ooh. You see, when we get to the core beliefs of heaven and hell and following Jesus and the resurrection and all these pieces, when I talk to people about faith in God and they say, well, I have some doubts. And I go, do you though? Because I think if we drill down deep enough, it's not a matter of doubt, it's a matter of fear. And doubt feels like the easy way out. I doubt that Jesus, rose from the dead. I said, actually, I think you're afraid that if he did, it'll change your life and you know it'll have to. And they're like, I don't like your answer to that. I doubt that God loves me. Well, actually, I think you're afraid of opening up your life because of what God could do in the inner workings of your life, because it means that things are going to be wrecked and moved around and ripped out and restored and changed. And you don't want that. Why? Because you were hurt when you were younger by people and friendships and family and mom and dad, and opening up your heart is scary. So if you just say that you doubt that God loves you, that's an easy way out. But God has something more in store. And we learned this from the very guy that we talked about last week. We're going to hit it up very briefly. His name is Thomas. And if you have a Bible, we're going to be back over very briefly in John chapter 20. And if you want to follow along today, you can follow along at our .info page, forefrontchurch.info. Click the notes tab, and there's everything there that you need. And I want to recap where we were at because this sets the stage for the next handful of weeks. We meet up with this guy named Thomas. Last week, we talked about Jesus, the resurrection, hope for you and I, that there is no hope without Jesus. That the only way that you and I see eternity with him, redemption in this life, forgiveness, is when we move into a loving, saving relationship with Jesus. Jesus, I trust you. Jesus, I love you. You are who you said you are. I'm going to get baptized, and I want to follow you with every part of who I am. And this all happens with Jesus, and the disciples, his followers, see it, and they go to tell Thomas. We talked about this last week, and Thomas is like, no, let's recap. Let's look at what transpired. So the disciples told him, we have seen the Lord. Like, we ate with him, we touched the things, and we watched him, we're like, whoa, and all. And then Thomas said, unless I see the nail marks in his hand, put my finger where the nails were, and put my hand into his side, I will not believe. And everyone from that point forward looked at Thomas and said, you are a doubter. Wait until you see him. And I don't think Thomas was a doubter. We talked about it last week, but I didn't want to give away the full story. I don't think Thomas for a moment doubted. Imagine putting ourselves in Thomas's shoes. You follow Jesus. Jesus promised you a kingdom. Jesus promised you the world, and now Jesus is dead. Your friend, the person you trusted. You had all of these hopes, and they were crushed in a moment. Thomas doesn't have a doubting problem. He's afraid to open up his heart again. If we were to drill back into Thomas's brain, I wonder what would be going on. I think the dialogue as he's listening to all that the disciples are saying is, don't you for a second talk about the guy, our friend who died. He's dead. Remember, dead things stay dead. I'm not going to open up my life again to any bit of hope. Don't you dare give me that glimmer of hope. Have you been there? Where the moment that a dream died, a situation happened, where it was done, and then someone gives you even an open door to hope, and you go, don't you dare tempt me with the possibility of going down that road. I am closed off. Thomas isn't doubtful. Thomas is afraid. Thomas is afraid of opening up and getting hurt again. A lot of us have been there. See, and I want to encourage you that everybody doubts, but those doubts, as everybody has them, have roots in fear. Thomas is welled up with fear. What if it is true? No, it's not. And he has this battle inside of him. No, I need to see it. And it's just a facade. I need to touch the nail marks. I need to do all these things. No, Thomas doesn't want to get his hopes up because his friend died. And all the promises were done. But I think for you and I, what we're learning in this is that we need to be more transparent and ask honest questions. And that's something that was not talked about when I was a kid growing up in church culture. For decades within the church, it was like the moment that you asked a question, it was like, and you're going to hell. And I was like, ugh. Like as a kid, I was around 5th, 6th grade at the time in the church that my parents were taking us to. And if you're an animal lover, I love you. I love you. I need to say this out front. But we're sitting in there, and I always wanted to ask the questions because I did not believe the stuff they were shoveling us. And so we're in there, and we had like a prayer and praise time. That is for if you are not around church culture. Prayer was things are bad. Praise is like I got a new car, I did whatever. Like those are all like I want to be thankful and brag a little bit. Is kind of, if we're honest, that is what happened. So like we're do prayer, and then they were going to get to the flannel graph. This was before like they had TVs in the classroom. They were going to stick stuff on there and tell us a story. And so we're in prayer and praise time. And one of the kids raised his hand, and he's getting emotional. He said, I just want to pray because my dog died, and I can't wait till I see him in heaven. And I'm remembering back to a few weeks ago when we talked about that the only way you go to heaven is when you've accepted Jesus. And I don't think your dog accepted Jesus. So I raised my hand. Now, for some of you, you're like, that's my fur baby. That movie said all dogs go to heaven. First of all, stop saying it's your fur baby. It's an insult to anyone who has real kids who has to guide them and direct them. You don't have to worry about your dog going out and getting hammered and then coming back and busting them out of jail. Okay? And so stop for a second with that's my fur baby. It's not. It's an insult to parents. And so you get me on the soapbox. Here we go. And so I'm in class. I raise my hand and I tell him, I don't think your dog's going to heaven. And the teacher, the look on her face is like, and I will watch you from hell. Like she is so mad, so mad. And she said, well, a couple weeks ago we talked about you have to accept Jesus. And I don't know that a dog ever confessed his love for the Lord. And so I don't know that where I said, there may be animals in heaven, but you're not going to be like, come here, Spot. Oh, Spot's here. I don't think that's going to happen. And she's like, well, why do you think that? And then I bring up a story. I was like, well, this lady talked about being married multiple times. And she wondered which one she was going to be her husband in heaven. And there's this whole story about that. And that didn't end well. And so I don't think that your dog, there might be animals, fine. God loves creatures. But I don't think your specific dog is going to be like, I can't wait till Johnny gets here. Like, that's not going to happen. And the teacher just goes, get out. Just get out. So I had to go sit in 5th grade outside the class because I asked a question about his dog, which is not going to be in heaven. I mean, if we get there and it's great, but don't get your hopes up. And so, the emails. I had someone after last service tell me, I think my dog did accept Jesus. And I just put my hand up and walked by. But I tell him about your dog's not in heaven. All right. And so I got sent out. And in the hallway, I learned from a Sunday school teacher in 5th, 6th grade that if you ask questions, it's not okay. That's what I learned. That the church isn't big enough, God isn't big enough to deal with questions. The moment that you have doubt, the moment that you have fear about a situation, the moment that you ask and have anything contrary, and I wrote down in my notes recalling this experience that there was fear of a different perspective, a different outcome, and there was fear of loss of control. Get out. Yeah. And what I learned, because I remember, and I thought to myself, the kid that just pray, whatever, I remember his dad was a deacon. And I looked at there, and they walk out to the car. That's like a leader in the church. Walk out to the car, and the dad's screaming, yelling at him. And then they come out, and they're like, hey, how's it going? Love Jesus, all right. Like, then they're walking out. I'm like, that doesn't match up. And some of you guys laugh because you've watched that happen. And some of you, that was your impression of Christians. Christians are judgmental, hurtful people who don't want to hear my reservations. They don't want to hear my doubts. And I would challenge you that they're not doubts, they're fears. Because what if it's true? And then where does God meet us in this? where does God meet us when we finally say, all right, God, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not sure if you're there, but I'm going to talk anyway. Anybody ever had that conversation? Yeah, you just pray and you're like, I don't know where this is going, but I'm going to talk. I remember having plenty of those, trying to work all this stuff out. You know God's response to all the times that we're afraid? We think we're going to get this long dissertation. Actually, here are the 12 steps to not be afraid any longer. And if you do these, you will never be afraid again. Nope. God's response to fear is fear not. Thanks. Really? Fear not. And for some of you in the room, you're a fighter. And so you hear fear not, and you're like, yeah, let's do that. You're take the hill. You are like storming the beaches, bravery, all of those things. For some of you, you hear fear not, and you're like, psst. Your flight, you don't fight, you fly. You're like my oldest daughter. She gets hurt, and I go to help her, and she's running down the street. Like, stop sign, can't put a Band-Aid on. Come back, back. She's running. For some of you, you hear that fear not, and you're like, I hope God doesn't say that again, because you're into fright mode. You're like, oh, the moment that keeps happening, I am going to be scared. But it is not. It happens over 300 times. There's actually enough fear nots in the Bible for every day of the year. That's interesting. The most often command that appears in the Bible, which actually, if we begin to study it, isn't so much a command as an invitation, because God shares with us, fear not, I am present with who? You. Let's do a little Bible study. Adam, Genesis 3. Sins, hiding, they're naked. Woman gave him the fruit. He eat the fruit. They're hiding. They realize they're naked. They're like, oh, we go. And they hide behind the tree. God comes to look for them like you're hunting for a toddler that's hiding halfway behind the curtain. You got to pretend, where are you? You can see him right there. Where are you? Comes out. Why are you hiding? Because I was scared. I was afraid. Fear not. His response, for I am with you. Abraham in Genesis 15:1. Fear not, Abraham, I am your shield. I am the one who will protect you. Isaac, Genesis 26:24. Fear not, for I am with you. Do not be afraid. Do not doubt. I am with you. Jacob tells him, don't be afraid, I am with you. He keeps repeating it. Why? Because we don't remember. Because we want to think that we're grown and we're adults and we've got it all figured out. We are so much like kids, we just don't want to admit it because we're scared. And God has to keep repeating himself. Just like when I repeat myself with my daughters to do things around the house. Hang up your book bag. I'm going to be 80 years old. Hang up your book bag. I have dreams about it. Sitting in a nursing home because they ain't going to take care of me. Put up your, with nursing. What do you say? Put up your book bag. Then we get to Moses. My presence will go with you, fear not. He goes, how can I lead? I don't have the resources. I don't know what I'm doing. You ever been like that at your job or with your family? People around you, everybody's looking at you. What do we do? And on the outside, you're going, I got a plan. On the inside, you go, I have no clue what I'm doing. Moses is going, these people keep following me. I don't know what to do. God, they won't go away. Sometimes you've thought about that with your kids. Why don't they just leave? They're there forever. You know what? God says, fear not, for I am with you. He doesn't give him a map. He just says, here I am. King David, even if you've never been around church too much, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear not, for he is with me. Jeremiah, he wrote Lamentations. It's just a big book of sad love songs and poems and laments and sadness. It's like an emo album. He was known as the weeping prophet. He even shared at one point in his writing, why did I ever leave my mother's womb? Really, he was like, in there it was great, and since then it's been downhill. I'm not a licensed psychiatrist, but I think he's depressed. God's response to him, fear not, for I am with you. Daniel finds himself in a precarious situation in a lion's den. Fear not, Daniel, I have come. Haggai says, be strong, be strong, be strong, not in reference to CrossFit. Why? For I am with you. Mary, fear not, teenage girl. I know you're pregnant. What will people think? Because you're not married. You could be put to death for sexual immorality. Fear not, for God is with you even in this moment. We have lots of fears. Lots of fears. And we may wrap them up as doubts, but those doubts have roots in fear. And what's the worst that could happen in life? Death? If you follow Jesus and you die, you get to go and be with Jesus. It's not too bad. My wife tells me all the time, don't do that, don't honk your horn. What if they have a gun? They pull up next to us and they shoot me. Be with Jesus? She doesn't like that response. Talked about going, even though I always want to do things to conquer my fears. And so I've talked to her about going skydiving. I'm afraid of heights. Figure that's the best way to do it. Go jump out of a perfectly good airplane. It's probably going to conquer that. No. She says, well, don't do that. You might die. I was like, if the parachute doesn't open and I die. She said, what will happen? Go be with Jesus? Maybe we need to reframe worst case scenario. If you follow Jesus, you have second life. There's no fear in that. All of us are going to start living crazy. Then we get to Jesus. In Matthew 28, the disciples have seen him. They're excited, but he says, hey, I have to go. So, well, what are we going to do? We saw you. You're back. Let's do this. That kingdom, let's do that. Yes. Like, fear not, for I'm going to be with you. How long are you going to be with us? Always. Until I return again. I'm going to leave my Holy Spirit to be with you. Fear not, for I am present with you. October 2nd, 2008, I took this job. I was already on staff here, but they decided that it would be a funny joke to just put me up here for a decade plus and talk to people. I was terrified. Church was hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. We were running around 200 people. The lead guy was very vicarious, full of energy, and I was not. God, I'm scared. Ever been there? Scared? Scared in your marriage, scared parenting your kids. So I was scared. So God, what are you going to do? And I was thinking to the next Sunday, and I was like, well, maybe just no one will show up. I was terrified. No one will show up the next Sunday. I'm like, they're all going to be like, he's not that guy. And they didn't. Some people, that was the case. But there were more people the next Sunday than the Sunday that they announced it. And then I was fearful if everyone was going to keep coming back. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. You know, God has a funny way in fear of showing us exactly where he needs to go, even if we don't know. People are looking at you and your family and your work situation and your marriage and your friendships. God, I don't know. I'm scared. I got you. Fast forward. I had no clue. I'd never led anybody through a financial campaign, and we raised some money, and I told the church, hey, we're going to go find a place to have our permanent home, or permanent as long as God tells us to, whatever. And everyone's like, yeah. And I remember getting off stage, and I was like, oh my gosh, what did I just tell them? I don't know if that'll even happen. And people are like, this is why I never come back. I was so conflicted. You're so dishonest if you've never been there. If you're wrestling with every piece of that, you feel like Jekyll and Hyde. I'm doing right. What am I doing? Then God keeps showing up because we keep being faithful. That's one of the things I continue to learn, that if you show up, God will continue to show up. And he did. Wiped the debt clean, kept bringing people. And the church started growing. We found this place. And everybody looked at me, they're like, what's next? And I was like, God's up to something. And I go in my office, God, what are you up to? I don't even know. Just terrified. Because part of living in faith is also just the fears that stir up and the doubts, and I get it. And I got this pin up here, And I posted this picture late last night to Instagram and Facebook. I blurred everything out because I don't trust you guys with my personal information. I know some of y'all's past. I ain't scared. And so I sat there, and I want to keep the pin because I have another one like it that's worth a lot, because at one point God kept bringing people, and more people came, and then you guys brought your friends, and you keep bringing your friends. And I'm terrified because you keep bringing your friends. And God, I'm like, God, what are we going to do? And so this past week, even in faith, although you wrestle with fear, in 2 weeks, we're going to break ground on a pretty cool place to put kids, because we're running out of space and those modulars are falling apart. And I never in a million years thought that that could happen, but God shows up and goes, hey, you people, if you trust me and you keep doing what you're going to do. And so we're going to put a bunch of kids in there, and I immediately thought when I was signing there, I was in the process of signing so we could get going. And as I'm signing, I go, what if that gets full? Oh, crap. God goes, I'll work it out. You trust me? You see, doubt isn't at the core of what we're talking about. It's fear. And fear isn't always sinful. And don't let anybody tell you any different, but it's always an opportunity. And I love that we follow a God and that we follow a Savior that is all about blowing the doors off our fears. And for some of us, we've sat in fear for far too long in our marriages, in our jobs, in our parenting, in our own self-identity. And what God wants to do is step into those moments and go, I've got you. I know you climbed real high. I just need you to jump. You won't catch me. Yeah, I'm going to catch you. And I promise it'll be the biggest adventure you ever dreamed of. But just jump. Thanks for tuning in to the Forefront Church video podcast. Our hope and prayer is that this has left you encouraged and challenged you in your faith. And you might have some questions and some ways that you want to figure this out, and we want to help with that. Head over to forefrontchurch.info, and there's a couple different ways that you can connect. Click the Connect tab and let us know how we can be praying for you, or a staff member can be contacting you this week. Maybe you have just been encouraged by this and want to support the ministry here at Forefront Church. You can click the Giving tab, as well as other tabs that are in there to help you along in your journey with God. And so we're thankful for you. Thanks for tuning in, and we cannot wait to see you again here online on the video podcast. We love you, and we'll see you then.